It's safe to say that the New Jersey Devils need help at the goalie position. However, which goalies will be available for the Devils to possibly pick up, whether it's a free agency signing or by a trade? These scenarios are unlikely to happen, but they're still fun to talk about. So we have a lot to discuss in this episode. Buckle up.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, and also Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, Trey Matthews. And for any of my podcast listeners, please bear with me momentarily because we are now officially on YouTube. I made the announcement in a more recent episode. I said that Locked On Devils has now expanded onto the YouTube platform. So here's my first video, but this is also going to be a podcast episode. So back to neutral zone as I try to make a video and also record a podcast at the same time. It's going to be a challenging experience, but I'm up for it. I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. So here we go. Locked On Devils now on the YouTube platform and also on other podcast streaming devices. So anyway, let's talk about the New Jersey Devils, shall we? So for the last couple of days, I've been talking about silly season scenarios for the New Jersey Devils, particularly with the Vancouver Canucks, because Connor Garland and also Brock Besser have been brought up in trade discussions, and the New Jersey Devils have been linked to those trade discussions, primarily with Pavel Zacha being in the mix of it. So the thing of the matter is, guys, I know the New Jersey Devils don't have that many assets to give up in terms of just unloading like everybody wants them to. I said the future is now because if we look at it, here's our core. We have Jack Hughes, we have Nico Hischier, we have Dougie Hamilton. All three of those guys are signed to a long-term deal. And then you got someone like Jesper Bratt, barring anything catastrophic. We're going to sign him to a 2 to 3 year extension. Then we have Mackenzie, Blackwood at net. Now, here's the thing. We need to talk about the in-between pipes issue for the New Jersey Devils because that's something I've been talking about a lot in my more recent episodes. I feel like I repeat myself every time the Devils have a bad outing because Mackenzie Blackwood is out for an extended period of time. Jonathan Bernier confirmed to be out for the rest of the year. His future is uncertain. However, he seems big on returning to the Devils organization and just trying to make a statement. But nonetheless, the New Jersey Devils, they're going to need some help at the goaltending position if they really want to take their organization to the next level. So, talking about Brock Besser, talking about Connor Garland, that's cool and all. And I talked about how both of them are solid wingers, nothing really impressive, nothing that really makes you jump out of your seat. But at the same time, those are two guys that the New Jersey Devils would love to have in their organization because it gives them more options. Because one of the things I've been talking about on my show is splitting up Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes just so we're not so top heavy. Look, I get it. I sound like a broken record. I've been repeating myself day in and day out on my show, but it's true. And you guys cannot deny that. So, but the one thing I want to talk about is the goaltending position. So courtesy of my colleagues at Pucks and Pitchforks, they released an article stating some options that the New Jersey Devils could potentially take in terms of getting that goalie they so desperately need if they want to take the organization to another level. So here's one thing that we need to talk about. Let's talk about Marc-Andre Fleury, the Flower. Could he potentially come to the New Jersey Devils organization via a trade? Now, that's a little bit of a far-fetched idea, but it's still an idea that was put out there, once again, courtesy of Pucks and Pitchforks. And they said, there's a few guarantees in life, but it looks like Marc-Andre Fleury does want out of Chicago. Now, Marc-Andre Fleury, as we all know, he is a champion. He is a Vezina Trophy winner, and he would bring a lot to our organization because this is what the New Jersey Devils have been looking for. They've just been looking for that veteran leadership in between pipes to basically just mentor Mackenzie Blackwood when he's ready to take the league by storm. We've been waiting for a few years for that to happen. But like I said, guys, the New Jersey Devils, they need to be more adaptable in terms of just trying to fix certain situations. So one thing I talked about for any of my newer listeners is that when Jonathan Bernier was rumored to be out for an extended period of time, I was like, you need to be prepared for worst case scenario. So I was talking about the Dallas Stars put Anton Khudobin onto waivers, claim Khudobin off waivers, so that way we have a solid option in net because Hudobin was actually pretty good in the NHL COVID bubble just a couple seasons ago. And, his stats are nothing impressive, but at the same time, they're impressive for our standards because now you got to rely on John Gillies. Now you got to rely on Nico Dawes. You got to rely on Akira Schmid. And you're basically playing musical chairs. You're playing devil's advocate, no pun intended. And you're basically kind of in a brouhaha kind of mess. So when looking at Marc-Andre Fleury, he's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, all with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has appeared in multiple All-Star games. Like I said, Vezina Trophy winner back in 2021. Also a very good guy, won the Jennings Trophy that same year as well. So for Marc-Andre Fleury, could it be possible that he's traded to the New Jersey Devils? Well, first and foremost, they would have to convince Marc-Andre Fleury that the Devils could be a playoff team if he is to come to our organization. Could we be a playoff team if Marc-Andre Fleury joins the organization? I think we could be, quite honestly. We wouldn't be contenders, don't get me wrong, but I think we would be in a much better position than the Chicago Blackhawks because they're still living in the past. And speaking of past, they're facing the music in terms of that scandal that they had to face a couple months ago. So it's not really all peaches and cream in the Chicago Blackhawks organization. So it's no surprise that Marc-Andre Fleury wants out of that situation, and he was close to retiring over the offseason. So the factors are, can you convince Andre Fleury to maybe stick around for just a couple more years? So, similar to a Corey Crawford situation. Speaking of Corey Crawford, it's like you got to make sure that Fleury does not want to retire. So I'm just saying. So if I'm the Devils organization, if I'm Lindy Ruff, and if I'm Tom Fitzgerald, you got to try to get onto the phone with the Chicago Blackhawks organization, get in contact with Fleury's agent, whatever the case might be, see if he is willing to at least be in net for at least 2 more years. And here's what I think the New Jersey Devils would do if they were to hypothetically trade for Marc-Andre Fleury. They would say, okay, you would be the starter next year to help take our organization to the next level that we so desperately want to get to. And then in your second year, you would be more of a backup role, or you would be switching in and out with Mackenzie Blackwood, because let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the New Jersey Devils want to keep Mackenzie Blackwood. They still feel as though he's his future, but that is said to be for a later date. But at the end of the day, I think Marc-Andre Fleury would be a great addition for the New Jersey Devils organization. Do I think they could trade for him? Absolutely, definitely, probably not. So this is the final year of his contract. Then in before the 2022-2023 season, he'll become an unrestricted free agent. So my thing is like you would get him for this season and try to get him on for 2 more years. So I don't think it would take much to get him, considering the fact that he's an aging goalie who is on the brink of retirement. The Chicago Blackhawks are pretty much desperate. So try to see if you can convince them to take a prospect, see if they can take, or maybe like a mid-level type of player. Look, I know you like Mikey McLeod. I know you like Nathan Bastian, but maybe include one of those players in the mix, split up the super buddies. Just try to find like mid to mediocre talent and see if the Chicago Blackhawks will take it, because look, Marc-Andre Fleury wants out. Chicago Blackhawks are in a no-win situation. They are desperate. They'll do whatever it takes. So in my opinion, getting Marc-Andre Fleury, I think that would be crucial for the New Jersey Devils organization, and that's what could take their organization to the next level. And you cannot just be sitting on your hands, similar to what you did with the Jonathan Bernier situation, similar to what you did for the Mackenzie Blackwood situation. Remember that game against the Arizona Coyotes in which Mackenzie Blackwood didn't look his best? He was playing hurt. You saw that he didn't have his A game. Why didn't you sub him out? That makes no sense. So my thing is like now you have a chance to capitalize on it. So look, I know you're focused on Connor Garland. I know you're focused on Brock Besser, but don't forget the goalie position, because this is where you're struggling at. And with Marc-Andre Fleury, final year of his contract, aging goalie, Chicago Blackhawks are desperate. You have all the credentials to possibly pounce on a good opportunity. Now the main obstacle that they would need to overcome, can you convince Marc-Andre Fleury to want to be traded to the Devils organization, and just convince them like, hey, we could be a playoff team with you on board. Like we have Dougie Hamilton. He's going to lead our defensemen next season alongside Brian Gray, silent but deadly impact. And then we got Jack Hughes, Nico Kieser, Jesper Bratt. They're the future young core. They put up great offensive numbers. Jack Hughes was just an all-star. Nico Kieser was an all-star a couple years ago. He's starting to come back after recovering from a series of injuries. Jesper Bratt seems to have really picked it up. We're banking on him having another great year. and we have so much talent around them. We have the surgence of Dawson Mercer. He's having a very good rookie campaign. Then we got Alexander Holton Utica. He's projected to be a great winger, and if we pair him with Nico Heiser, it's going to be lights out. And also, we got Luke Hughes at the University of Michigan. He is the future for our defense, and hopefully, we can bank on Jonas Siegenthaler being consistent, because he's been one of our most consistent defensemen. So the New Jersey Devils have the pieces. They just got to put it together. And part of that is, is it the coaching staff? Maybe. But I think the main reason is just getting a good goalie. So, like I said, courtesy of my buddies at Pucks and Pitchforks and the writing source in which I work at, they said Marc-Andre Fleury could be a possibility. And I would love Marc-Andre Fleury on this team. Who wouldn't want a flower on their team? So, last year for the Vegas Golden Knights, he appeared in 36 games. He had a record of 26-10. He had a save percentage of .928 and a goals against average of 1.98. So that's actually very good numbers for an aging goaltender who was on the brink of retirement. He still has it, and maybe a new change of scenery could really help out Marc-Andre Fleury in the long run. So this season with the Chicago Blackhawks, he has appeared in 36 games. He has a record of 16-17, goals against average of 2.88, and a save percentage of .910. We will take that on any day of the week. And like I said, when we're looking at his contract, final year of his contract before he becomes an unrestricted free agent, and he was originally signed to a 3-year, $21 million deal, and his average salary was about $7 million. So I think you could convince him to maybe take a bit of a pay cut, sign for 2 years, and just say you'll be a starter for this year, and then you'll switch out with Mackenzie Blackwood, and it kind of takes the burden off your shoulders. But we need you to take us to the next level. So when we're talking about silly season, we also have to talk about the goalie position. So there's an option right there for the New Jersey Devils. Very unlikely, because I'm sure Marc-Andre Fleury wants to go to a contender and then possibly have one more shot of winning the cup and then most likely retire. But still a possibility. But, there's that. So can you convince him to be a part of something special? I don't think it's out of the ordinary. We're a better organization than the Blackhawks. Just saying. No shade. Before we continue with the rest of today's silly season episode in terms of goalies, it is time for the first live read this morning, and it comes from Built Bar. So the New Jersey Devils are going to need a whole lot of energy if they're willing to make a few trades to try to make their organization better, and they need some Built Bars to do so. This is the time of year that I pretty much have given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting protein bars. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors: yummy cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. So good. These are going to be your new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, Puffs included. 100% real chocolate, low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They're better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. And once again, compare that to a candy bar that has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. They have so many flavors: mint brownie, coconut almond, and new this month, white chocolate, cookies, and cream. They are all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. If you think a flavor might be good, they'll make it. It will be delicious, and it will be good for you. I don't know how they do it, but somehow, some way, they always pull it off. So the offer is go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. And remember to check out the Daytona 500 in the sport of NASCAR, as Corey LaJoie will be rocking a Built Bar paint scheme. So I'm looking forward to seeing one of the greatest races of the year. So the second live read comes from our friends at BetOnline.net. Football might be over this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today to use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please remember to gamble responsibly and visit our friends at Locked On Bets for all your betting needs there as well. Okay, so let's get back to our goalie silly season discussion. So here's another topic that I've been lingering around a few weeks ago, which is, should the New Jersey Devils give up on Mackenzie Blackwood? Now, this is an interesting discussion because a few years ago, people were saying that, he could potentially win the Vezina Trophy. I've said this on the show numerous times. I still believe it could happen, but the development just isn't there for Mackenzie Blackwood quite yet. It just seems like he can never catch a break. Like this year, he got injured. He missed the first month or so of the year due to a heel injury, and he re-injured that same heel once again, which is why he's out for an extended period of time once again. But still, that wasn't his fault. That was more of poor judgment from Lindy Ruff and just overworking him, because at one point Mackenzie Blackwood played in like 5 or 6 straight games. You can't do something like that. So the last time that Mackenzie Blackwood appeared in a game was actually like a full month ago, so January 19th. So it's been a while since we've seen Mackenzie Blackwood. So when looking at Mackenzie Blackwood's career, it's nothing impressive. Like, it's nothing that makes you jump out of your bed, like I like to say on this show a lot. So he has appeared in 128 career games. He has an overall record of 55, 50, and 15. And he has a goals against average of 2.91 and a save percentage of 908. So when you look at Mackenzie Blackwood, the one thing I see is that he screams potential, but it's just so untapped. It's just like, when are we going to get the full development of Mackenzie Blackwood? And I'm curious to see, what is he worth in the open market? Because this season hasn't been a very good year for Mackenzie Blackwood. Once again, dealing with injury, not really going to put all the blame on him, but still, the facts are there. Appeared in 23 games so far. He has a record of 9-9-3, and he has a save percentage of 894 and a goals against average of 3.29. So if the season were to end today, he's having his career worst in save percentage and goals against average, and this would obviously be his worst record of his career. So he is having a career low type of year right now. So it raises the question, should the New Jersey Devils consider moving on from Mackenzie Blackwood? Now, this is an interesting discussion and might be somewhat controversial, but my mindset is, and we're going to have to wait until the offseason to see which direction the Devils want to take their organization in, but I think you at least have to entertain the thought of maybe getting rid of Mackenzie Blackwood, because the thing is like Tom Fitzgerald says that he wants to take this team to the playoffs. Well, is Mackenzie Blackwood your answer, or is he more of a backup goalie type role? Because he's still relatively young. He's 25 years of age. He still, like I said, has a lot of room to grow. He has a lot of untapped potential. I'm looking forward to see what the future lies ahead for Mackenzie Blackwood. But at the same time, it's just like, I would like to see the New Jersey Devils back in the playoffs. Now, will it happen next year? Will it happen the year after that? Like I said, pretty iffy depending on what other teams do during the course of the offseason. And also, the major X factor depends on what the Devils do during the offseason as well. So my thing is like, I like Blackwood and all, but I at least have to entertain the thought of maybe trading him, especially if there's another goalie out there in which we can offer them a lot of money. So for someone like Marc-Andre Fleury, like I mentioned in the first segment of this show, he's going to expect if he is to hypothetically return to the NHL next year and not retire, I think Marc-Andre Fleury is going to look for anywhere from around the $5 to $7 million range. So can the Devils afford that? I think they can, for at least 2 more years. So can you convince him to sign for a 2-year, $10 million type deal where you're paying him $5 million per season? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but at the same time, there's another goalie, and there's a lot of goalies out there. There's Darcy Kuemper, who plays for the Colorado Avalanche. Now, this one is a little unlikely, but still, my buddies at Pucks and Pitchforks, they put out the article, they put out the hypothetical scenarios, and I'm reacting to them because this is very entertaining. And like I said, it could be possible that the Devils try to pounce on someone like that. Or, if we're looking at someone like Jack Campbell for the Toronto Maple Leafs, remember, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they got to pay a lot of people. So it's just like, can they afford to keep Jack Campbell around long term? So that's the thing you need to think about, because the New Jersey Devils, they can try to pounce on these opportunities when players become available. So the thing about Jack Campbell, he is signed to a 2-year, $3.3 million contract, and he will become an unrestricted free agent after this year. So it's just like, can you try to capitalize on that? Unlikely, but still, it's possible. It's plausible. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it is plausible, because I think it's safe to say that Campbell is very, very, very heavily underpaid for what he's been able to do for the Toronto Maple Leafs this season. So, could they try to to pounce on that. I think they should. And part of that, and what does this have to do with Mackenzie Blackwood? Well, if we're looking at a Darcy Kuemper type of situation, here's what Pucks and Pitchforks released. They said that for so Kuemper is probably going to demand somewhere in the 5 to 7 year range, and he's going to ask for maybe $8 to $9 million as well. So if you commit to someone like Kuemper like that, you are locked on long term. Like I talked about Connor Garland, it's like if we were to obtain Connor Garland, that's a long term type of deal. That's a commitment, and with that commitment, some sacrifices are going to have to be made. So what kind of sacrifices would have to be made for the New Jersey Devils? Well, unfortunately, we would have to break the news to Mackenzie Blackwood saying that he would be downgraded to a backup type of role or try to see what he's worth in the open market. But a lot of you brought this to my attention saying it could be possible that Mackenzie Blackwood could be on borrowed time for the New Jersey Devils just because we're not getting the result that we need out of him. We're not getting the production that we kind of need out of him. We're not getting the wins that we potentially need out of him. And my buddy Neil from Devil State of Mind, he said that due to all the injuries, due to the amount of workload, due to similar statistics, it seems like Mackenzie Blackwood's career is heading in the direction of Corey Schneider. And he doesn't have a reliable backup. But like I said, the one thing that the New Jersey Devils have to be better at is just being adaptable. So if you're not being adaptable, then you're not going to win games. So like I applaud you for trying to get Corey Crawford. I applaud you for getting Jonathan Bernier. But at the same time, you saw that both of those scenarios didn't work out. Corey Crawford abruptly retired. Jonathan Bernier got injured. Now you got to be adaptable. Now you got to go out and just try to, find an answer for Mackenzie Blackwood. And you need to convince these goalies saying, like, if you come to New Jersey, you are the final piece that we are missing. Because is it safe to say, guys, that a lot of our losses this year are on the goalies' heads? Like, there's just so many games I can think of in which the New Jersey Devils could have won, but poor goaltending was the issue. Like, in one of our games against the Toronto Maple Leafs, one of the things I said was poor rebound control. And I was just like, cover that puck up. Like, seriously, like, you could have covered it up with ease. You lost it in the lights. You stood still. What did I say in our most recent loss? I said that the New Jersey Devils, I believe John Gillies was in net. I just said, like, he just stood still at parts. He just was a deer in headlights. He totally missed the puck. It was right behind him, and he could have just covered it up. And this was against the Lightning, a championship caliber team that's going to pounce on those mistakes. So I don't know what the Devils have to do, but like I said, I talked about some far-fetched silly season discussion type topics, but the one thing I say about silly season is that it's called silly season for a reason, and the Devils don't have a game until Thursday, so it's like we're not going to see the Devils play for like another week or so, and it's just like we need something to talk about. And silly season, it gets everyone excited. It's one of my favorite topics to discuss. So like I said, could it be possible that we get Jack Campbell? Could it be possible that we get Darcy Kuemper? Could it be possible that we get Marc-Andre Fleury onto our organization? Sure. But it's also possible that Wayne Gretzky could come out of retirement. It's possible that Connor McDavid will be traded to the New Jersey Devils. It's possible that Alexander Ovechkin could play for another 10 years. Everything is a possibility in my eyes, but doesn't mean it'll happen. So, but it's still fun to talk about. And, to talk about these hypothetical scenarios, it still shines the light of what the Devils potentially need. So with Darcy Kuemper, he's an established goalie in this league. He's been in the league since 2012, 2013, and he's actually put up pretty solid statistics. So he's 31 years of age. If we were to sign him long-term, I don't think Darcy Kuemper is going to be content with a backup role. He's going to be like, look, I want to sign long-term. I want to be the go-to guy. And the argument that could be made is like, sometimes he has good games. Sometimes he has absolute terrible games. It's the story of the New Jersey Devils' life. And sometimes he just looks like a deer in headlights. But at the same time, it's just like, he's an established goalie, like I said. And the same can be said for Jack Campbell, because this season for the Toronto Maple Leafs, he has a record of 23-7-3, and he has a save percentage of .924 and a goals against average of 2.33. One thing I talked to Michael of Locked On Leafs over the offseason was the salary cap situation for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because they're going to have to pay a lot of people. And like I said, Jack Campbell is heavily underpaid for what he's doing. You're seriously only paying that for like what did I say? Like a 1 point something million dollars? Seriously? That kind of production? We will take that any day of the week. Come here. We'll overpay you. We'll make you feel welcomed. So that's one thing I want you guys to take into consideration. Yes, silly season is silly for a reason. Marc-Andre Fleury, Jack Campbell, Darcy Kuemper coming to New Jersey. Not likely, but still fun to talk about. So let me know what you guys think. Which goalies out there do you think the Devils should pursue, or who's going to be in the open market come free agency, and who should the New Jersey Devils try to target? Because like I said, anything is a possibility. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but still fun to talk about. So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. So leave your comments below on the YouTube video. And if you're listening to this podcast on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast from, hit me up on Twitter at TreyMatt4, and also Locked On Devils' Twitter page at Locked On Devils. Curious to hear your guys' thoughts. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you guys. So thanks for listening. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening and watching as well, because this is also on YouTube.